Hello everyone, I'm Michelle Smith and welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, then welcome. I'm so glad you found me. I have 3 fall Dollar Tree DIYs for you today. Now I've had lots of requests for me to produce more crafts lately, so here you go. You get 3 wonderful fall crafts in one video. Okay, let's get crafting and let me show you how to make these beautiful fall DIYs. The first fall craft is this gorgeous decorative pumpkin. This floral pumpkin can be used as a centerpiece. You can use it on your mantle or a side table. It is perfect to add a bit of cheer to any room. You're going to need one of these carvable pumpkins that you can get at Dollar Tree. Go ahead and remove the stem. And if you have one, use a dowel rod. This will help you in painting. Just go ahead and stick it down in the center there. This is apple barrel white. To that, I'm going to add a little bit of the apple barrel khaki. And a small amount of pumpkin orange. I'm really happy with that color. It's kind of a beige with just a hint of that orange in there. I'm very happy with that. The base of the pumpkin will take 2 to 3 coats to cover this orange. And I like to use the dowel rod because it helps hold the pumpkin in place. Whether I'm doing the top here or the sides. And then when I need to do the bottom, I can just lift it up and then do the bottom. When I dry, I take this and stick it into a heavy vase and let it dry upside down like that. You want to go through and get on one nice good coat, let that fully dry, and then go back and put a second coat. And if you need to, once that dries, if you can still see that bright orange underneath, go back with a third coat. It all depends on what type of paint that you're using, how many coats you'll need to put on to cover this orange. You want to go through and even out your paint. And then let your first coat completely dry, and then apply your second coat. My 2 coats on my pumpkin are nice and dry. I got good coverage with just 2 coats. So I'm happy with this. Now I want to go in and add some dimension. I want to add a little bit of detail to these indentations so that it looks a little bit more 3-dimensional and it's not just one solid color. So to do that, I've pulled out the same pumpkin orange, the same khaki that I mixed in for the base color, and then I've also added some nutmeg brown. Now to do this, I'm going to do the dry brush method. This is my favorite brush. I picked this up from Dollar Tree a couple years ago. It came in a pack of 2. It's just an old brush. You want your bristles to be kind of uneven. If it's got a little dried paint or a little glue or something like that in there where the bristles are stuck together, even better. Okay, and you want to make sure your brush is completely dry. So to start off with, I'm going to do a little bit of the orange. So just dab a little bit in and dab it off. And then I'm going to just go over the whole base of the pumpkin. I want to add a little bit of this bright orange, and I'm just going to go through slightly and just brush through. And see, I'm getting a small amount of paint on there. So you want to make sure you're taking any excess paint off, and just don't be afraid, just lightly go over. We're going to be adding some other colors, so if something gets too dark or too heavy and you don't like it, that's okay. You can cover it up when we go over it with some of the other colors. Okay, I'm happy with that color. So I'm going to move on to the next one. I'm going to do the khaki now and do the same technique. Once I'm done with that, then I'll go in with a little bit with the dark brown. Doesn't that look pretty? I just love that. And now I'm going to move to a smaller brush. I want to do a little bit more detailed work. And this is a nice stiff brush, so I can use it for dry brushing. And now I'm going to go into this dark brown. Again, dab it off so you only have a small amount. And then I'm going to take this and I'm just going to run right through those indentations from the top to the bottom. And I don't have to get the paint all the way on. So don't be afraid if you don't have a solid line going down. In fact, you really don't want that. You want it to be broken up. Now that I've got that in, I want to blend that in a little bit more, so I'm going to go back with some more khaki and my big brush, and then just go over those lines a little bit and soften them up. When you're doing dry brushing, really think about the colors and layering them. That's what's going to give you your best effects. Okay, now I'm going to go in with some orange and I'm going to mix that a little bit with the khaki so it's not quite so bright, and add some of that. So just go in and play with your pumpkin, find your colors, start layering them, and just add a little bit at a time because you can easily go back and add more. It's harder to cover up too much. So just start with less and add more until you get it to where you like it. And there you go. I really like that. I like the texture that it gives, and it makes it look a little bit more three-dimensional, and those indentations stand out much better. I'm very happy with that. You're also going to need some of the Spanish moss that you can get from Dollar Tree. And you'll also need one of these plastic plates. They also come from Dollar Tree. They come in a package of 8. And these are like small dessert plates. Let's see. They don't give the size, but you get 8. You only need 1. Okay, so pull out some of the moss. I kind of like this moss. You can use whatever moss you have. It doesn't have to be this one, but I do like this one because it pulls out more in strips rather than in big clumps. So that will work really well for what we're doing today. Now on our plate, we want to glue down some moss right around the edge of the ring. Okay, once you have it nice and even around the edge, go through and kind of pull it. You want to make sure that it's nice and kind of packed, and just around the edge, pull it away from the center. Kind of pull it in from the outside. It's okay if a little bit sticks out. It looks like that. Then we're going to take our pumpkin and we're going to glue the bottom right into the center there. This is why we didn't put any moss in the center, so that our pumpkin sits nice and flat. Okay, we're going to add a little bit of moss right around the top here as well. You want to make sure that you still have access to the hole here in the center. But just kind of right around the edge here, you want to add some moss. You don't need a lot, just a little. Now that I have my moss on, I'm going to do a little bit of trimming so that I can control all this wildness. And I don't want it to be too perfect, but I don't need these really long pieces coming off. Same thing around the bottom. If you have anything that's really sticking out too far, just nip that off. Looking good so far. Next, you're going to need some floral tape. You can also pick this up at Dollar Tree. And then you're going to need some floral picks. Now these two I picked up from Dollar Tree this year in their fall section. I think they're very pretty. They have that really beautiful sunflower, a smaller sunflower, looks like a little mum or carnation, and this pretty gourd. I have two of those, and those came from the Crafter Square section in fall. And then these two, I lucked out. I found these two at Walmart this year. They were actually leftovers from last year, and they were on clearance. And I got those for 50 cents each. But you can use whatever picks that you want. I'm going to mix these two. And then I'm going to fill in just a little bit with this one. And this is a hop bush. This I got from Dollar Tree. Now this part here, the berries, is too long. I don't want it that high. I still want to use it, but I don't need it that high. So I'm going to go ahead and trim those as low as I can, so I have stem to work with. The rest of the picks are perfect just the way they are. Okay, so, and don't worry, you can completely arrange these once we get everything together. So you want to take your two picks and put them back to back. And then you take, I'm taking one of the Dollar Tree picks, placing it on this side, and then taking the other one and placing it on the other side. Okay? Now I can take these guys and I'm going to hot glue those in after I get this together. So you want to pull all of your stems together. You want them all the same size, same length, so they're even. And then you're going to wrap that with the floral tape. And don't worry how they look, just work on getting it nice and snug. You can always adjust afterwards. Now this doesn't stick to the stem, but it will stick to itself. So when you initially start it, you have to wrap it around itself a couple times. The hardest part is getting it going. And then just wrap down and then wrap up all the way up to the top to where the leaves and the flowers start. Now this is a great technique to wrap your florals together, especially if you want to attach them maybe to a wreath. It's very popular to have the really thin, round metal wreath forms that you attach florals and things to. This is a good way to get your florals together, arrange them the way you want, and then attach the whole bundle to the wreath form. Makes it much easier and cleaner to work with. Okay, so I'm all the way up at the top here. Cut a piece off. Now to keep that so it doesn't come unraveled, I'm going to hit the end with just a little bit of hot glue and glue it down. Okay, so you can see my stem is nicely wrapped. Okay, now you know what the hole is for. You just take your little stem there and stick it right down in the hole. All the way down. Doesn't that look pretty? And you haven't even adjusted it yet. Now from this point, you just want to adjust your florals. And then you can glue in your berries and a couple pieces of my greenery here. Okay, so once you decide where you want to place these, just add a little bit of hot glue. And then feed it into the arrangement. Now if you're going to do it around the edge, you'll want to make sure that you kind of get it into the hole, or you can actually just poke it right into the pumpkin. Remember, your florals are bendable, so feel free to bend them to go in the direction that you want them to. Okay. Put one on that side. Yep. Put one on this side. And that's one thing you want to consider. Whatever you do on one side, you want to kind of do on the other. It'll keep it uniform that way. And that way it looks good from every direction. Okay, I'm going to glue in the rest of my goodies here, and then I'll come back and I'll show you the finished product. And there you go, we are all done. I think it came out absolutely gorgeous. And this project only cost about $7 or $8 to make. Absolutely gorgeous. A perfect fall centerpiece for your table for Thanksgiving. This would also look great sitting on your mantle or a side table as a decorative piece. It's absolutely gorgeous regardless of what side you look at it. My second DIY for today is this beautiful fall sign. This sign was so much fun to put together. For this craft, you're going to need 4 of these wood pallets that you can pick up from Dollar Tree. They need to all be the same size. You're also going to need some paint. I pulled out burnt umber, holly branch, and cardinal crimson. You're also going to need some water and a paintbrush. You're also going to need some paper towel. I have a little bit of each of the colors down. I'm going to start here with the red and add some water. I want to use this like a stain, so I'm going to make it very thin. I'm going to take that and just brush it over one of the slats here. Take your paper towel and then go over and wipe off any excess. So then this one will be brown, the next one will be green, and then I'll do another red one. If you get a little too much on, just add some water, let it sit for a minute, and then wipe that off. That'll help lift up some of the paint. So we are going to attach all of the slats together side by side like this. So you need to work through all of the slats and do your colors. So I'll line it up. This is the third one. You want to do all one color and then go back, change to another color. That way you don't have to wash out your brush all the time. Now I'm going through and doing the green. And I'm applying it the same way. Just put it down real quick and then wipe off any excess. When you get done with the green, then you'll want to go and do your brown. I'm going to get all of my slats stained, and when they're dry, I will come back and we will move forward. All my slats are done and dry, but they're a little too bright for me. So I'm going to go over them with some Waverly Antique Wax. I really do like this stuff. It's really easy to work with. And this is my favorite brush for dry brushing. You want a completely dry brush, and if it's broken up and uneven, maybe has a little dried paint in there, that's even better. So just dab a small amount onto your brush, remove any excess, and then just quickly go through and drag through to get the majority of that paint off. Then you can go back and kind of hit it a little bit stronger, maybe around the edges, go through the center again. But just work with it until you get it the way that you like it. You can always add more, so start with less. Just like that. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to antique the rest of my pieces. All of my slats have been antiqued. I'm really happy with how they turned out. Now I have these DIY stickers that you can pick up from Dollar Tree. And so I took out 4 of the leaves. I went over them with the Waverly Antique Wax. I'm really happy with how they turned out. Now you're going to need 4 letters that spell out fall. I picked these up from Walmart. I believe they were like $1.47 a piece, and these are wrapped in burlap. They come individually wrapped in plastic, just like that. Now I'm going to spell out the word fall, and I'm going to place my letters on here before I attach all of my slats here together. And I'm also going to use this slat as my line so that I get all my letters placed properly. I'm just going to eye it side by side. To attach my letters, I'm going to use some wood glue and some hot glue. Now the reason why I like to use both hot glue and the wood glue is the hot glue is going to give you that fast, immediate hold, and the wood glue is going to give you that long-term hold. Hot glue doesn't seem to like to stick to freshly painted surfaces too well, so that's why I like to use a combination. Just like that. I'm going to go ahead and place the rest of my letters. I have all my letters on, so now I'm going to attach these together. Okay, so to attach these together, I'm going to line them up. You want to make sure they're facing the correct way. But these slats here, I'm going to line those up. First, I'm going to hit right here a little bit of hot glue so it'll hold it in place for me. And then to secure those together, I'm going to use a popsicle stick on either side and glue them down like that. And I'm going to use a mixture of the wood glue and the hot glue for that. You're going to want to put one on each side and one in between each of the pallets. Okay, I have everything nice and secure and attached. I think that looks really cute. Now I'm going to add my leaves. You just kind of play with them at first until you decide exactly where you want to place them. I think I'm going to go ahead and place them there, and I'm just going to hot glue them on. They're not very heavy, so I'm not worried about them falling off. I think that looks absolutely adorable. Now to hang our sign, I have some beaded garland. Dollar Tree does carry beaded garland now if you can find it. If not, I did purchase my beads from Amazon.com. They have a large selection of mixed beads. You get 1,000 and it's like $16. So that's what I've been working with. And this bead is about 1/2 inch in diameter. So I've gone ahead and strung it and left some string. I tied a nice big knot so that they can't come off. And I'm going to hang them from the top here and then just hot glue the jute cord on. You want that glue to fully sit up before you try to hang it. I have the hanger on. I'm very pleased with how it came out. It's nice and sturdy and it holds the sign perfectly. Now I did go in and do one more detail here on the leaves. I used a fine point black Sharpie and I went in and I did a little bit of detail there and added some veining. I'm not sure if the camera can pick that up or not, but I really like that. It added just that little bit of something that it needed. Well, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. And my third lovely DIY for you today is this other beautiful decorative pumpkin. I had a lot of fun with these pumpkins, and I tried something new on this one, the new rub-on transfers. They work awesome. To get started, you're going to need one of these carvable pumpkins that you can get at Dollar Tree. And if you have one, a dowel rod or something that's long, this just makes it easier for you to paint your pumpkin. You can go ahead and remove the stem. And then right in the center there, go ahead and punch a hole so you can put your dowel rod in. Now, I'm going to paint this pumpkin. I'm going to mix white and I'm going to put just a little bit of the khaki because I don't want it stark white. I want it a little bit more cream in color. I'm happy with that color. It's a nice creamy color. Now the pumpkin will take 2 to 3 coats to cover the bright orange color. So as you can see, you're going to need more than 1 coat, usually 2, sometimes 3, depending on what paint that you're using. So I'm going to go ahead and get my base coats down and get the pumpkin dry, and then I'll come back and we will move forward. Okay, I have 2 coats on the base of my pumpkin and I'm really happy with it. I got nice coverage off of it. And now we're going to take this plain pumpkin and make it look really pretty. Now there are several different choices that you can use. These are the rub-on transfers that you can pick up from Dollar Tree. They have several to choose from, both for fall and Halloween, so either way you want to go. I really like this one. I think this one would work really well. And they also have this one, which I think is really pretty. It's all those little pumpkins. And then for Halloween, they have this one. And this one. And this one. So any of these would do, and if you were going to do the Halloween ones, instead of painting the pumpkin kind of an off-white, I would do more of a gray. Now the one that I'm going to do today is for fall. And this is the one I'm using. Now I cut one out because I wanted to try and make sure that it worked properly on the pumpkin. And it did, it came out beautifully, but it does take a little bit of patience to get these on there, especially when you're not on a really hard and smooth surface. Now I just use a craft stick. And then you want to choose your design and cut out that design by itself. It'll make it much easier to place it and get it properly down and onto the pumpkin. Okay, so this is the next one that I'm going to place, and I really like this one. It's going to be one of my focal points. Now, if you haven't used these in the past, the images are on a clear sheet, and this sheet is sticky, and that is placed on a white kind of slippery background. So if you pull something off and go to place it and change your mind, it's okay. You can put it back on here and use it again later, as long as you haven't rubbed it off. So you need to find your placement and where you want to put your little decal. And I want mine kind of centered here on this big little bump. So once you have your placement, peel it off. Place the sticky side down. Now it will somewhat hold, but it's not going to hold really well because it is a soft pumpkin and it's not flat. So you want to place it and then start at the bottom. You want to work on the highest point since this isn't flat. Hold it down and then take and gently brush back and forth over the image. You don't want to press too hard because you don't want an indentation in your pumpkin. And you can tell once it's released, it gets lighter in color and you can see the plastic lift up. Okay, so start in the center and work your way out. Like I said, just be patient with it. If you try to rush this process, you're not going to be happy with the results. So you want to go down the center and then do one full side till it's released and then go to the other side. Or you could do top and bottom, whatever works best. And there you go. Doesn't that look beautiful? I think they work very well. I'm going to go ahead and place the rest of my rub-ons on my pumpkin, and then I'll come back and show you what the next step is. Now you just want to be careful not to place it too low or too high because we are going to be putting some decorations here on the top as well as a stem. So just keep that in mind. Plus when it's placed, if it's too low, you're not going to be able to see it. Okay? I got all my rub-ons on. I'm really happy with the result. I absolutely love these. That was so much fun and they were easy to remove. Now I used everything on the sheet except this one fall. It came with 2 falls, so I only wanted to use one, but I used everything else. So it says Hello Autumn there, it says fall on that side, but isn't that absolutely adorable? Okay, a few tips about placing these. You want to place your largest images first. Place them evenly over the pumpkin, or if you just want to do one area, place those first. Then go in and start placing your smaller items. And then what I did with just the last few leaves was I did come down a little further on the bottom in a few places, and I did come up a little higher in a few places. So it doesn't look like everything is just in the center. But I am super pleased, and I have to tell you, I highly recommend these rub-on transfers. Absolutely wonderful to work with. Now while you're applying these, a craft stick works super great. It works very well. And as you're pushing, especially if you're putting it on a pumpkin, now this is more of a softer surface and it's not even. You need to hold your image down completely and not let it move as you rub on. And as you're rubbing on, you want to make sure you stay on the plastic That makes it so that you don't have rub marks on your pumpkin. If you come off of the plastic, you're going to dent your pumpkin and you'll be able to see that. Okay, so those are my tips for applying these. And now the next step is I want to make sure that this is sealed and that they stay on. So I'm going to go ahead and cover the entire pumpkin with Mod Podge. Now it's your choice. They have Mod Podge in gloss. They also have it in matte. I actually want a little bit of a shiny finish on my pumpkin, so I'm going to be using the gloss. You can use a dowel rod again to help you. And then just go over your entire pumpkin and give it one good coat of Mod Podge. Okay, I have my pumpkin completely coated in Mod Podge. Now this is why I like to use a dowel rod. I can just stick this in a heavy vase and let it dry. And that's what I'm going to do. When it's dry, I'll be back and we will move forward. My pumpkin is all dry. I love it. It came out perfect. I'm really happy. It has that little bit of shine on there that I wanted. And everything is nice and sealed. I don't have to worry about anything peeling up or peeling off. Now for my stem here, I have a package of the little wood pieces that you can get from Dollar Tree. You can also go into your backyard and cut a piece of stem, or the next time you trim your trees or your bushes, if you see any good pieces, trim them and keep them. Okay, so just find something that you like for your stem. You don't want it to be too big. Now I already have a hole started there. So I'm just going to take this and I'm going to push and twist as I push just till it goes through. Just like that. So just barely twist. Don't push too hard. You don't want it to break a hole. Now I want to add some decorations up on the top here. So I pulled out these really cute berry picks that Dollar Tree is now carrying. This is a smaller package. You get 36 in this one. And then I also pulled out a package of their burlap leaves. Now, of course, this leaf is too large, but I'm going to cut it down to fit the size of pumpkin. So I'm going to pull one out. You want to go ahead and keep the little wire piece. We're going to be using this. So take that off your leaf. And now on this one, I'm just going to go and cut a couple leaves that are the size that I want. I have two little leaves. And then on this guy, just kind of grab it in the middle, grab a pencil, anything that's circular, and wrap it around. Have a little tendril. And wrap the other side. A little tendril for your pumpkin. And then I'm just going to pull out about 3 of these. I think that's all I'm going to need. I don't need the wire to be too long. Cut those off. Okay, so I am going to add some glue around the base here to make sure that my stem is nice and secure. Now, this is Spanish moss. I got this from Dollar Tree. I'm going to add a little bit of this on the top as well. You can use whatever moss you have on hand. It doesn't have to be this kind. I just kind of like this look. And I just want to put a little bit around the top here. Just as you're laying it down, try to shape it. You want it to circle your stem. If you don't get enough on, just pull a little bit more, add a little bit more glue, and add to it. There you go. Then take your scissors and just do a little trimming. It's okay if some stick out, but you don't want them sticking out too long or too far. So just give it a little haircut, make it look pretty. I like that. And now I'm going to go and glue in my little leaves here. And now I'm going to take some of these little orange berries, and they're on a wire, so I'm just going to use that wire and I'm just going to push them in where I want them. That's the one good thing about a styrofoam pumpkin. I'm going to add a couple more. I have my little berries in. I think they look really cute. Now the little wire from the burlap leaf, I did go ahead and twist. Now I was initially planning on just bending it in half, but it's not quite long enough, so I pulled another wire and made a second one, so I have two. And because they are wire, I can just poke it into the pumpkin. I'm going to go ahead and place my two little tendrils. You can bend them however you like. I put one on either side of the pumpkin. Now I found this ribbon at the Dollar Tree. I absolutely love it. It's a burlap ribbon and it has really pretty different colored leaves on there, and it does have a little bit of glitter. The ribbon is also trimmed just a little bit in gold. And this is from this year in their fall section. It's 9 feet at 5/8 of an inch. I just made a cute little tiny bow and tied it in the center with some jute cord. And then I also made a cute little jute cord bow. So I'm going to glue the jute cord bow on first. Add a good dollop of hot glue there. And then I'm just going to hot glue it right to the stem of the pumpkin. Okay, so I have my jute cord bow on there. And now I'm going to take my little ribbon bow And I'm going to glue that right on the top. Doesn't that look cute? You're also going to need a plastic plate. You can get these at Dollar Tree over in their catering section. And you get 8 in a package. You only need 1. Now I'm going to take some more of the Spanish moss and I'm going to line the dish right around the edge here with the Spanish moss. And I'm simply going to hot glue it down. Just do a little section at a time, maybe a couple inches. And just be cautious, you're dealing with hot glue. Don't want to burn yourself. Okay, once you get everything kind of glued down, you want to go through and pack it in. You don't want anything in the center there, just around the edges. Okay, you can also give it a haircut. Just go around, trim off anything that's too wild. You don't have to get everything. You want it a little messy. But this way you can give it a nice haircut and make it look real pretty. Okay, now we're going to put our pumpkin in our little nest. I think that's what it looks like to me. I'm just going to add a good amount of hot glue here on the bottom. Now the reason why I put the plates on the bottom of the pumpkins like this, especially if they have a lot of florals and things on the top, is because this makes it more bottom heavy and it also gives it a wider stance. Then go ahead and place your pumpkin. And there you go. Isn't that absolutely adorable? Another beautiful pumpkin centerpiece. You can also use it on your side table or mantle. I hope you enjoyed today's 3 Dollar Tree fall DIYs. I had so much fun putting them all together and I am so pleased with how each one turned out. Please let me know in the comments below which one was your favorite. It's so hard for me to choose. Thanks so much for stopping by. You know it's always a pleasure to see you. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. I do upload new content every week. And if you hit the notification bell when it pops up, you'll be the first to know every time I add new content. Thanks again for stopping by. If you enjoy craft tutorials and hauls, make sure to check out these videos. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.